want to double back on something, man. We were talking about just Bonds was talking about the project that JJ did and how it included slavery. My question is for you all as well as those with children. Do y'all remember when you were in school, or have you seen with your kids in school them talking about slavery much? Because I know for me, I now mind you, I've been out of school for shit 20 years now. Fuck, I'm getting old. Anyway, and
at least
fuck all of ya. And then and then looking at my kids, slavery is not a big thing that they talk about in school.
Really?
Even during Black History Month, it's the traditional, okay, we're going to talk about MLK and Rosa Parks, and we'll kind of talk about, you know, the bus boycotts, but they don't really talk about a whole hell of a lot. And that was even when I was in school.
So most of the time, they only cover slavery in U.S. history. And I think you do U.S. history like in 9th or 10th grade most of the time. Mm-hmm. There isn't much. It's a quick section because they don't want to upset anyone. And that's always been my notion. Like, you can't talk slavery in an inner city school without someone getting upset. And it's probably a slap in the face when you have a white teacher trying to teach it to you.
Hey, hold on. On that, while we're there, you reminded me when you asked the question, Brock. I seen a post the other day that asked what age you were when you had your first Black teacher. What grade were you in?
Shit.
I never had one.
10th grade, Mrs. McQueen, social studies. R.I.P. She passed away from
6th grade.
COVID.
Now, the irony of this 6th grade, Mr. Price, he's actually my uncle. So, my uncle was my first Black teacher.
Hopefully.
Yeah. What about you, Jay?
I don't think I've ever had a Black teacher. I was a Metro student, so I had a Black
How did you go through life and not have a Black teacher?
I didn't.
I went to Southwick.
Wasn't in an inner city school.
Three out of the 5 of us never had a Black teacher. Well, in my case, I never had a Black teacher that wasn't a substitute. Or like,
now, I can count on one hand how many Black teachers I've had, but
I've never had one.
I feel like I had one Black sub, and I'm so sorry that I can't remember their names.
Yeah. No, you're not. You was wilding that day. You was like, substitute, turn the class up.
You know me, I'm just talking to everybody. You're going to have to move me out of the room.
When we were in Mary Lynch, I don't even think there was a Black teacher in Mary Lynch. I mean, not Mary. Yeah, Mary Lynch. No, Kylie. I'm sorry, Kylie.
There was a couple at Kylie. I just never had one of them.
I don't even remember that.
Because Kristen's first Black teacher was actually at Kylie. She was in the same grade as your sister.
Okay. And then,
so, sorry, Mr. Straughter or something?
Yeah.
I think that's who she said her first Black teacher was at Kylie. And I never had him. But at all of my school, at least middle and high school, I was aware of the Black teachers that were there. I just never ended up in any of their classes.
I didn't have any of them. Our principal in Central was Dr. Celeste Bud Jackson, and you know she was a Black principal. And
no shit, I just heard the name. You didn't even have to say that.
Word.
I gotta clear that up.
Never guess that.
But and then we had
that segment gets some grace.
Who was a basketball coach. So stereotypical. He was a basketball coach.
Are you making this up? Somebody's making this up.
He was a basketball coach, and then he became the assistant principal. And that was it for. I mean, I know that there were other, Black teachers over there, but there weren't many. Wow, there weren't many.
Nope.
Wow. So I had all the Black teachers. I had 4 different Black teachers.
Putnam too. So,
where were most of them at?
All of them were in Putnam.
Oh yeah, apparently. Vocation.
Oh.
They had their trade.
Yeah.
Not even just vocation. I mean, yeah, there were Black teachers in vocation, but social studies teacher was Black, Mr. Swan. Mrs. McQueen, she was also social studies. Pre-calc was Mr. Ucandu. He was African.
I was gonna say he ain't American Black. Not with that name.
He's from the motherland. I had him, and then we had a health teacher. I think it's Dre's aunt, actually. She was one of my black teachers as well. I took health class.
Oh, I'm a liar. One of my first black teachers was at NYSP sports camp. Miss Holmes. Let's go.
That don't count.
Shout out. She taught me things though. She taught me things. And I was still in school.
Whose teachers?
She was in Richmond.
That was my sub. That's who I was talking about.
Jay's making jokes. That's
no, I'm cigarette flicking and will not fall.
It's just coincidence.
That's my
stepmom's. It just happens to be funny. But she did teach me things.
They didn't even go over. Like when they went over the whole like Thanksgiving, season.
Oh man.
They don't even acknowledge, how that came to be. All they talk about is Thanksgiving dinner. That was it. They didn't talk about breakfast. They didn't talk about anything else except for Thanksgiving dinner and turkeys.
Turkeys and pilgrim hats.
It's been like 3 years already.
Yeah.
Let's actually get to it because I want to have a real conversation with her when it comes to that. I don't want to ruin it for. Cause again, I'm very protective of her innocence. She. I know she's starting not to believe in Santa anymore, but I don't want to ruin it right there for her. But she's getting to the age where she's like, oh, okay, you guys have been messing with me this whole time. Like this isn't even real. But she looks forward to it and she's very excited and she still looks forward to Santa. And
as long as they look forward to it, fine, whatever.
I don't want to ruin it for her.
It's not killing me that whatever. Fine, you'll figure it out.
But when the time comes, we're gonna have a real conversation around Thanksgiving and what really happens.
Oh no! In this house, Santa brings small gifts. Daddy and mommy buy the big gifts. Because we work hard. We work hard for this. And by the end of the year, I'm broke. I can't even enjoy my birthday the next month because I done went too hard on Christmas for JJ. So
right.
See, as the only one here with no kids, I feel a little jaded in these situations because, I feel like you should be aware of those situations because they're stories, but at the same time, it's like, fuck it. It's not real. I don't know. I don't have anybody to protect the innocence just yet, but overall,
Jay is that rude uncle. Jay is that rude uncle that comes over on Christmas and be like, "Yo, Santa didn't buy you that. Your mom and daddy did
that." He's gonna have the.
You think some fat white man brought you that for free?
Sit for this. Try this.
Man, but those stories, like you said, they really push the narrative that they want. And the example that I can give of that, what I do remember in school when they talked about slavery, they actually referred to, for that brief moment, which was maybe about a 30-minute span in one class in a year, they actually referred to the slaves as slaves. I can't speak for any other state, but I do know in the state of Texas, in history books, you cannot refer to the slaves as slaves. They are either forced laborers or indentured, or people who were captured and put into indentured servitude.
So you cannot use the word indentured servants is the other word that you see in the history books.
You cannot use the word slave in any school textbook.
But they mostly refer to indentured. They mostly refer to indentured servants as white people that just were poor and couldn't even afford their own, so they had to go into slavery or indentured servitude. So.
But you see what they're trying to do there, right?
They're trying to use their rhetoric to pretty it up a bit. Oh, y'all weren't slaves. Right. You weren't slaves. You were forced laborers.
Right.
Just because y'all got a pretty flag down there that y'all want to protect, and part of that protection is part of that culture and part of that story.
That's like it's trash.
Indentured servants. He owed us. We brought him here. We gave him all his clothing. We fed him. Come on, man.
No. You're leaving out the most key part. We purchased him to bring him here.
Sometimes
That's why he owes us, because we purchased him.
Right.
What pisses me off about that being in Texas, of all states, we didn't even get the news until 2 years later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So, all right.
I mean, I know Texas.
We can't do what again?
Right. The Emancipation Proclamation happened in 1865. The reason Juneteenth, for those of you who haven't heard of it, Juneteenth, look it up.
Black Independence Day.
It's right. It's a big deal in Texas. Reason being, that's 2 years later, on June 19th, we got the news in 1867. Like, hold up, we've been free for 2 years. So, yeah. It's dumbfounded to me that in Texas, of all states, it's like, yeah, we're gonna remove that slave term and put forced laborer. Like, yeah, fuck y'all. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think a part of that may be guilt, and another part of it may just be trying to overall soften that conversation, trying to make it less harsh and more easily digestible by the people who it afflicted. You know, you don't want to incite people. I mean, even though I'm sure that by the time it even got to become a discussion while we were in school, most of us were aware of what slavery was and had been. You know, like Bond said, we didn't talk about it until American history, and it was brief. You know,
very.
And you know, it's funny because I have a really far right wing Facebook friend who I really only keep on my friends list to kind of see what the ops are thinking. Like, and not that I'm really like far left myself, but you know, I like to see things from different perspectives. And
you do a recon.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a conversation with him a while back.
Empathy, you know.
About the whole Philando Castile thing, and it got kind of heated, and you know, it got to a point where I was explaining how, you know, the system in and of itself was never designed with us in mind. Like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the you know, Declaration of Independence, all of that, like that wasn't written with, you know, Black people in mind. And he essentially went down the rabbit hole of, well, you know, at this point, like, what more could possibly be done to, you know, to like even the odds? Like like essentially saying we've done everything. Like everything is better now. And, you know, I had to sit and think about that for a second. But when I finally did, it came back to me, and I made it about education. Like if everything is equal and like you're saying, and everything is truly a level playing field, then why in American history books, why are Black history and American history two different subjects? Why is one elective and one is mandatory? Why do I have to learn about what all of these historic you know, white and European people did, but I have the choice of whether or not I want to learn about the Black people who helped build this country to be what it is? Why aren't they just one book?
Right.
Or even the Native Americans, for that matter. They get a really brief stint at the beginning of our history books, and then we quickly move peaceful. On to the European Anglo-Saxon history.
And then the part
not all of
they
it.
do talk about, the part that they do talk about where there is war and conflict, is never based on the idea that the Native Americans were like, yo, get the fuck off of our land. It's more so based off of the, oh, well, they got aggressive and they were acting like savages.
Oh, you're missing the first step. You gotta discover the land. Remember that. We discovered this. This wasn't even here until we just like, you know, we unlocked it. We got that last level up. Boom. America.
It's here. Then the Native Americans just kind of popped up.
Right.
Like, right. It's just like, fuck out of here, man.
This is America. We discovered this. What are you doing here? How dare you?
That you guys know,
even down to the fact that they called them Indians, because I mean they were actually looking for India, and they came over here and they're like, hey, you know, this is India, right? Nah, this is the Americas.
I'll say this:
y'all are Indians, right? Because we're in India. Nah, this is America.
Right.
Nah,
yeah, y'all are Indians.
Right. I can't wait until school opens back up next year, because it's a wash for this year. It's a wrap. I think teachers done gave up about a month ago, maybe 30 days ago, and they're like, I don't know, we're going to pass them all, and hopefully they get it. But I can't wait till next year, because there are definitely, if y'all were helping your kids with school, there are some changes that need to happen in this curriculum. Because it's crazy. Like, it not only is it mostly, I don't want to call it a bunch of bullshit, but
call it what
That
it
new math
is.
it's some bullshit. It really is some bullshit.
This is a safe space. You can speak freely.
It really is, and there should be some really revamping going on in the curriculum. I'm not even gonna get into core math because that's a different language. God. I always thought 1 + 1 was 2, but apparently you can do something else with it to make it 2. But whatever. But yeah, like going out on the social studies topic, like why aren't we discussing the real histories of each of these countries? Why are we covering U.S. history in 1 year? And for the most part, all we're learning is, well, Columbus came over, he sacked, he didn't sack it, he discovered America. You know, they ain't talk about all the disease and stuff that they brought over, just that, you know, oh, they got sick on the boat mysteriously when they were coming over. A lot of people died. Like, why don't we talk?
They somehow got smallpox. I don't know how.
Right.
They just somehow got
smallpox. It just developed while we were all sailing. I don't know. Maybe we were just eating too much fish or something. Hey, come on, man. So I really need to see when school comes back in, I got to get on the PCO and speak my piece because I need them to really revamp the curriculum. It looks a mess. It's bad.
This takes a lot of research, and I mean, if you have free time, you can always look it up. But look up curriculums on history in other countries like South America, and see how they look at us and what our history really is, and they'll let you know what the history really is like. I'm
gonna do that. That might be kind of interesting.
Yeah, you do that. Like, I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying like when you have free time, do some research on curriculums in other countries, like third world countries, and what it is that they view history as, and how they look at American history, and it's gonna open your eyes to a lot of crazy stuff that we were never taught, or has been shunned or tucked away, because there's been a bunch of history that's been tucked away.
Perspective is everything, man.
And if you, I would just say, that you guys do that on your free time. It's very, very interesting. Like Bonds, I was saying about that book, or they were here. I think it was they were here before us, or something like that. Talking about, Africans. They were a very smart race, and they discovered, how to make boats and travel across seas and use stars as their maps, and they ended up going to South America and making trade. And there's a bunch of, a lot of things that point to African history and culture in South America. Like, how would they have gotten there in those times before Europeans even started traveling, or even, and trade was something that became to be known. It was real crazy, like how, how Africans traveled across, and, you don't get the dark skin out of nowhere. That doesn't just happen. You get to a land, and there's dark skin already there. Like, it opens up your mind and gets you to thinking a lot.
No, even the European history is fucked up, because what they don't tell you is on all of these ships, they used to take a woman, because a woman can actually see further. It's scientifically proven. Most women have better vision than men. So a woman would actually navigate for them to the passages to America. And it's like they degrade women in that sense. Like, why?
No, that would empower a woman. We can't do that.
Right.
And it's like,
I still can't see why I play video games, though. That's crazy.
So, you're right. There's a lot of things missing in these books that, they should be in there. It should be in these curriculums.
Yeah, I was gonna say not in my house, because I got the best vision in my house. But I do get what you're saying, that scientifically speaking. Yeah.
There's a J. Cole quote that came to mind that, like, it's specifically when you're talking about the European and the North American history, but one thing about the men that's controlling the pen that write history, they always seem to white out their sins.
Yeah.
Facts.
I agree.
Facts.
Yo, history is written by the winners. That's an easy perspective. Like, we're not gonna take the history books from the losers.
Also facts. It is written by the winners.
This is our book.
So you only gain things from one perspective, and that's never a healthy way to look at things, man. Everything needs balance. Life is about balance. You know, it's like the same thing with these, even with the protests that we're seeing now, how only, like, whether we're talking about the Black Lives Matter protests, whether we're talking about the LGBTQ community, whether we're talking, it doesn't even matter what group, you only hear the most extreme voices. You know, you don't hear from the reasonable people.
Right. No, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah,
seriously.
You got to go extreme one way or another, and that's what everybody chooses to harp on and to highlight. Like, even the people who are making it seem as if, you know, if one cop is bad, every cop is bad. That's such an extreme stance to take. Like,
that is an extreme stance to take, but I will say that some cops, even as a collective, do not make that narrative any better. The example I'll give is what happened in Buffalo, where they pushed over that 75-year-old man.
And then 75 people resigned in solidarity.
Right. So you're telling me that, you know, this egregious act, you're supposed to protect and serve, quote unquote. I use that loosely. And to stand behind your brothers in blue, whether they were right or wrong, whether something was justified or egregious, in solidarity, you're going to resign as well. Dude, I mean, that wasn't necessary. And so who are you, if that's the case, that gives me an idea of who you're actually serving when you take that oath to protect and serve. And it could be something that's just in the depths of the foundation of policing as we know it. Because, I mean, if you want to get down to the root of, or the history of American policing, I mean, that went back to slavery.
It's about 300 years old at this point. I actually just looked this up the other day. I started going down that rabbit hole just to find out how old or how new of a system this actually was. And, you know, the first police was established about 300 years ago, and then over the next 150 years or so after that, it became more of a widespread thing. But for the most part, the idea of that we know of policing is a fairly new concept.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's still rooted in a lot of those old mentalities that existed at the point where it was founded.
So, yeah, you know, it's a lot of things that are rooted in the foundation of policing that need to be improved upon, need to be changed. And I think that we're getting to that point to where they're starting to hear what people are saying. And hopefully going forward, it'll incite some change, but we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Aha!